Welcome to Ancient Stoic Secrets, where modern men come to rediscover their silent strength. If you've ever been in a relationship where you gave your all, your time, your effort, your love, only to be left in silence, this message is for you. Many men suffer quietly, wondering, what did I do wrong? Why wasn't I enough? But here's a truth they never taught you. You weren't supposed to keep chasing. She expected you to chase forever. But the moment you disappeared, she finally started to feel your absence. This isn't a video about revenge. It's about reclaiming your power with stillness. Because the strongest man is not the loudest. He is the one who walks away without a word. At first, she loved how much you cared. The messages, the compliments, the effort. But somewhere along the way, what once felt flattering began to feel predictable. You became too available. And in doing so, you lost your mystery. Women are drawn to polarity, to the quiet strength of a man who doesn't need to be needed. But the moment she saw your world revolved around her, the balance shifted. She stopped feeling that pull. She felt too safe, too certain. And ironically, that certainty killed the spark. You weren't doing anything wrong. You were just too there. A Stoic man knows. Too much presence without boundaries leads to emotional invisibility. The pullback was a test. When she started pulling away, it wasn't always conscious. Sometimes, women test not your love, but your center. She wanted to see, would you chase? Would you panic? Would you crumble? And if you did, it confirmed her doubts. But when you didn't, when you held your ground, stayed silent, even let her go, something shifted. Suddenly, you weren't predictable. You weren't weak. You became a question again, not an answer. A man who doesn't chase is a man who values himself. The test wasn't about her feelings. It was about your self-respect. And most men fail because they confuse approval with love. A Stoic man never begs. He simply watches who stays. Your silence was louder than words. You stopped explaining yourself. You stopped over-communicating, trying to fix what she broke. And that silence, it echoed louder than any argument could, because it showed her, he finally sees me for who I am, not who he wants me to be. Words beg for attention. Silence commands it. And once you went quiet, she had to sit with her own reflection, without your energy distracting her. She wondered, did I go too far? Did I lose him? That discomfort? That confusion, it meant your silence did its job. A Stoic man doesn't explain his absence. He simply removes his presence and lets the emptiness do the speaking. She thought you'd always be there. She misread your consistency as permanence. She believed you'd wait, that no matter how far she drifted, you'd be there with open arms. But every man has a limit, and when you hit yours, you didn't scream. You didn't plead. You simply vanished. And that shook her more than any angry message ever could. She realized the safety net she took for granted had disappeared, that the man she assumed would always chase had stopped caring. A Stoic man doesn't warn you before he leaves. He just leaves. And in doing so, he reclaims his worth, not with noise, but with distance. 5. She began to feel the void. At first, your absence felt like relief to her. No more calls, no more texts, no more presence. But slowly that silence turned into space, and that space turned into void. It hit her late, on a random night scrolling through photos, and she realized you weren't coming back. You weren't waiting in the wings. The man who once overflowed with affection was gone, and he wasn't chasing anymore. That emptiness wasn't punishment, it was reflection. A Stoic man understands your absence is your greatest mirror. It shows her everything your presence couldn't. 6. Her ego took the first hit. She wasn't just missing you, she was missing how you made her feel, adored, desired, worshipped. But now, none of that energy was hers anymore. It bruised her ego to realize she was no longer the center of your attention. It wasn't love she missed, it was validation, the dopamine rush of being chased. But a Stoic man doesn't serve a woman's ego. He leads with value, not approval, and when you withdrew your energy, she had to confront what she truly brought to the table. For the first time, she felt replaceable. And that reality, it burned. 7. You didn't become cold. You became clear. You didn't shut down. You just stopped fighting for something that didn't feed your soul. That's not bitterness. That's clarity. Clarity that says, I see my worth now. She might call it heartless, but that's only because she benefited from your confusion. Now that you've stepped back, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, she's faced with a version of you that's no longer under her spell. A Stoic man doesn't hate the woman who hurt him. He just no longer allows her to define him, and in that stillness, he becomes untouchable. 8. She regretted it too late. Eventually, regret kicks in. But not because she lost a man, because she lost a man who loved her through silence, through storms, through setbacks. And she pushed him away, expecting him to return like always. But this time, he didn't. She scrolled through your old messages. She played back memories in her mind. And she wondered, why did I let go of someone so rare? The answer? She didn't know what she had until it was gone. A Stoic man knows his value, even if others don't see it in time. Regret is not your burden to carry, it is hers to live with. 9. You didn't need to prove your loyalty. You already showed it. You didn't need to win her back. You needed to win yourself back. And that's exactly what you did. You chose silence over shouting, stillness over chasing, peace over proving. You didn't walk away because you were weak. You walked away because begging for love isn't love. It's self-abandonment. A Stoic man doesn't try to be chosen. He chooses himself, again and again. And from that strength, he attracts something real. Not a woman who tests him, but one who respects him. 10. The power was always yours. All along, you had the power, not in control, not in force, but in detachment. The moment you let go of needing her, you became magnetic. Your energy returned to you, your focus sharpened, your purpose deepened. That's what makes a man powerful, not his ability to hold on, but his courage to walk away. She didn't expect you to vanish, but when you did, she saw the man you truly were, a man not ruled by emotion, but guided by truth. And in your absence, you became unforgettable. That's the Stoic way. If you've ever felt like silence was your only weapon, know this. It's not weakness, it's wisdom. You don't need to chase to be loved. You don't need to prove to be chosen. You just need to remember, your value was never up for debate. Let her wonder. Let her regret. You stay centered. Thank you for watching Ancient Stoic Secrets. If this message spoke to your soul, subscribe and stay with us. Your journey to quiet strength has only just begun.